cold. Welcome back. As you can tell, something behind us. After one long month,
Yes.
plus a little bit, we have our rig back.
Yes.
We're very excited about that. But what we're going to talk about today is what actually happened to it that caused us to be out of it for up to a month, and maybe what we were doing when it broke, or the process we went through as far as with the dealership and with Grand Design to get it fixed, and there was a lot to fix. And then where we currently stand, how it was fixed, and just what we're going to do going forward. So welcome back to Miller's in Motion. So right out of the gates, what were we doing when the rig broke? Well, somebody was in a nice comfy house.
Yes.
But I actually had taken the rig, and by now if you follow some of their social medias and even at the end of one of our YouTube videos, you've noticed that I am going to be a participant in the upcoming season 1 of RV Unplugged. So before we go any further, actually going to show you the trailer real quick to that.
In the next 48 hours, we're going to lose 50% of our team. And there's nothing we can do about it.
15 RVers going head to head to walk away with $10,000.
No, seriously, what is going on?
I'm pissed, Stacy.
Okay, just talk to me for a minute.
Feels like we're being kicked when we're down.
They have no idea what they'll be doing or who they will be going against. They just want to be the first to win.
Blue team, Team Phil.
Red team!
Who will be the first to be the Season 1 RV Unplugged champion? Welcome to RV Unplugged.
It's gameplay.
Damn, this is life. 1 minute, 35 seconds.
All right. That was a lot of fun to film. I obviously missed Lauren for 2 weeks.
I didn't miss boondocking.
But I will say, if you haven't followed RV Unplugged on YouTube yet, make sure and go do that. There's a lot of really cool things in addition to the TV show that's going to be happening. There's a meetup in Tampa. There's a rally that we're going to do around the finale of the show. So make sure and go follow them on all the social medias and on YouTube. And all the current information as far as the rally and the Tampa meetup, that is all on the website. It's rvunpluggedtv.com.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what exactly broke and what happened? Well, we were filming the TV show and Lauren wasn't even in it.
Right.
So as far as places to break things, we were in a pretty good spot because we filmed pretty much next door to the NRVTA. So, and Todd Henson, who is the director of the NRVTA education department, he was on site. He was the host of the show. So good person to have around, and luckily for us, he was able to really help us out. So I want to say a quick thank you to Todd and Tony and the rest of the team at the NRVTA, because I know we were not easy to work with for that 2 weeks. I was not easy to work with for those 2 weeks. But so what broke? Well, a lot. So much that we made a pretty lengthy list with pictures as well as a walk around video. So versus us going around again to it right now, we're just going to show you that video. Now, I will say it was only ever intended to be for Grand Design. So we're sharing with you as far as just to show what we produced for them. Granted, we have a camera and all that other stuff, but we did that just so we can go through every issue. So here's that. Hi, Grand Design. My name is Ryan Miller, along with my wife, Lauren Miller. We purchased a 2022 Solitude 390RK-R. So we're shooting this video to simply kind of go over all of the issues we're having and have been having now for some time, just so that we get everything out in one foul swoop and we can physically show it to you. So we're actually going to start in the rear of the coach where most of the problems are being had. Our oven slide has completely seized. We're also missing a screw here. It is luckily in, but while in transit the other day, it actually did slide out about 7 to 8 inches. I was able to push it back in, but just this side, the rear side of the slide didn't move at all. So in this first section, so we are on the camp side, and you can kind of see just the visual there of how this support is starting to come out. Also, the screws, you can see, are starting to pull forward. So while we're back here, I want to try and show just directly above the 3 marker lights and the Solitude logo in the backup camera, there is what appears to be a delamination starting at the top. I don't know if that has to do with the potential lower frame shifting and maybe pulling the whole section down, or if it's something completely different. And I'm trying to move around. It's unfortunately a cloudy day here, so it's hard to kind of see. So this is the underside of the forward front cap. Obviously you can see the pin. So this little section here has now been fixed twice at McLean's under warranty. It's been, this whole piece, this whole trim piece all the way across has been removed, dropped, cleaned, reinserted and sealed. But it is already, as you can tell, peeling back. That fix was probably a month to a month and a half ago. And it's already starting to peel back away. Again, I'm not sure what that is, but there are obviously many issues with this rig.
So as you can see, there were a lot of things to address. I will say one thing that we did that I am so glad we did the video walk around, and then we also took photos and created a PDF document with a photo and a description of all of our concerns. We included a timeline of how things broke, that we recognized, all those kinds of things, so that everybody had the same information. The first call, because we are in Texas and the franchise law, goes to the dealership where we purchased and that was nearest to us, happened to be the same place.
Yep.
So we put that in, and of course they said, yep, you have to bring it in. So we did that. We moved out of the rig in order to do that because we did not know the extent of the damage, if we'd get the rig back, if we'd trade, if it would go to Indiana. We didn't know.
So, and Lauren said trade there for a minute.
Right.
We actually felt that the amount of damage was so significant that
Right.
there was a very real potential that we would not move back into it. And we had some engineering concerns as well.
For sure.
And so whether it was fixed or not, we weren't not 100% sure we'd be comfortable enough with those repairs to move back into it.
Right.
Luckily for us, that's not the case because it's sitting behind us.
Yes. So we got it up here, and this is the point where I kind of want to say, when you're going through something like this, be your own advocate. Don't expect anybody to just pick up the ball and run with
Nope.
this. And so that's why we did the video. That's why we did the emails with the PDF document. And even at that, we sent that email to service managers and to sales managers and to Grand Design. And I don't think we got one response out of it. I actually took days off work to sit on the phone to get somebody. I was not going to leave a voicemail. We were not sending any more emails. This is our home, and it was going to be addressed.
So that might come across as a little pushy, but
might.
quite frankly, for us, we full-time, you guys know that. We live in this thing, and so we were officially out of this for a month.
Yes.
And so from the end of filming to literally yesterday, 1 month. And so that's a month that if you full-time, you have to find lodging, Airbnb,
Right.
whatever else. And so, it could potentially be a very expensive thing for
Yeah.
you individually if you don't have somewhere to stay. We're very lucky that we got back to Fort. We were just in Athens, Texas, which is about 2 hours away from Fort Worth. We got back to Fort Worth and were able to get it back up to Sanger, which is where we are now.
But even still, Sanger McLean said, yeah, bring it in, and they would get us in very quickly. But they didn't look at it for over a week.
Yeah.
We got zero response from anybody for over a week. And when it's your home and your work and providing content, all kinds of things, that's really frustrating.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it may be a little pushy that I took time off just to sit on hold until I got a person, but I would do it again 1,000 times over
Right.
if that's what it came down to. So after we got it up to McLean's and we realized we weren't getting a good response, the phone calls I made were to Grand Design directly. And when I got a hold of somebody, can I just say he was so helpful. And without his help, I think we'd have been between a rock and a hard place, because Grand Design was willing to stand behind their product and their service. It was very difficult to get McLean's to do the same in their service department.
And I will tell you, and Lauren hit the nail on the head right there. She said service department. So,
Yep.
when you're shopping for a dealership, shop not just for the rig, shop the dealership, know what their service department is, especially if you're in the state of Texas. Lauren mentioned a franchise law. So there's a first right of refusal amendment in a franchise tax law here in the state of Texas that requires you to take your vehicle, which an RV falls under that description, into the rig or into the dealership service department first. Now you can receive a letter that will allow you mobile tech and stuff. Now I say this is all for warranty work.
Right.
Outside of warranty work, you can do whatever you want. And if you happen to be in another state, you can do whatever you want. But if you're in the state and you're just kind of stuck. And so, just be aware of what you're buying into before you buy into it. And so many people shop the rig and the floor plan, and they don't think about that backside of it.
Right. And there were actually 2 issues, if you watched the little walkthrough, that McLean's had already addressed, and we felt it was inadequate. So that was one of the reasons we wanted Grand Design involved in that aspect. And at one point, I don't remember if it was McLean's or Grand Design, I told him, I said, look, there's 2 reasons we bought a Grand Design. One was the quality, and the second is the customer service. And I said, you guys messed up on the quality because we have some major catastrophic issues. And so somebody better stand behind the rig and get it fixed as far as customer service goes. Otherwise, that's a whole issue and a ballgame we didn't intend to play.
So once Lauren finally got a hold of Kyle at the customer service department, and first of all, thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle at Grand Design.
That's when the ball really started to haul down the hill pretty fast. He saw all the emails and stuff. We forwarded to him, and we sent him pretty much everything we had sent to everybody else. He even made a comment to you saying that's probably the most thorough that anybody's ever been.
Right. And let me say, this was probably about 10 days into the process before I finally got somebody to take us seriously that we were having big issues.
And we had not been calling Grand Design for that entire 10 days, really just a few.
Well, we called a couple times and never got anybody.
Right.
They said, send an email, leave a voicemail. So,
or take it to the dealership was the other fun answer.
Right.
So, but once Kyle got the ball, things started to happen very quickly at that point. Right. So instead of waiting on the dealership service department, Kyle dispatched and prioritized us because of some of the severities of the issues with one of their regional techs.
Right.
I forget their actual title.
I think they call them SRT.
Gotcha. So the same guys with the big trucks and the big cargo trailers that you see at the rallies, that's what they do when they're not at rallies. So
they come rescue us.
Now, we did have, inside that month, we did have a week of just bad luck. And I say that in terms of those guys work 3 weeks on, 1 week off. We happened to get on the schedule like the Wednesday or Thursday of the last of those 3 weeks on for Chris, who's the tech here in this area. So we had to sit on our hands for a week. That's nobody's fault.
Nobody's fault. We get it.
Yeah. So, and then this last week, Chris was in town and took a bay over at McLean's where the rig was, and they essentially just started digging and going to work.
And let me say that out of a month of waiting, the repairs took approximately 2 days. Yeah. The logistics of this whole process, that's what held us back.
Well, 3. The repairs took 3 days.
Sorry. Yeah.
So Chris comes into town, does his thing, and we'll go through, in fact, we should probably just go through each line. So of the major things, obviously our biggest concern was the subfloor framing, the aluminum framing above the Lippert frame, so I'm not talking about that.
Right.
In the back. They did a service bulletin advisory, actually 2 of them, on the rig. Made sure that was all in working order. He said that it was, most of some of the buckling we saw was just over penetration from screws, which is completely normal. They went ahead and still re-supported the frame underneath there. So very much so went above and beyond what's required.
Right. Thank goodness.
At least from the Grand Design engineering spec side. And supported the frame with even more weight, with even more structure.
And I'm going to add in right there, this is, I don't want to say a known problem, but that floor structure
with the 390RKs only. There's other rigs that have that structure. It's because of the weight of the kitchen versus like a 375 res, which is just a living room up front.
So if you have a 390, you can actually be preemptive in getting this work done so that you don't have issues the way that we did.
Do the service bulletin no matter what.
Do the service bulletin before you have an issue. Strongly encourage you to do that.
Right.
But I don't think it applies to the 23s. It's just 22 and backwards.
So obviously the oven slide was failed. So
Failed.
that was obviously, so what had happened there is the rollers were installed improperly back at production. They had to be rebuilt back up the right way and kind of repositioned just a little bit, and then the entire Schwintek slide system had to be rebuilt. On the microwave slide, now this is where Todd came in very handy at the NRVTA, because he made us aware of a few other problems, because Todd's an overachiever.
Thank you, Todd.
And they didn't really have to rebuild anything on the microwave slide, but they did have to reposition the rollers and tweak a few things. And so didn't get a new Lippert system over there, but or Schwintek system over there by Lippert. But they prevented it, did a bunch of preventative stuff so that it won't fail.
Right.
And then in the bedroom, again, they just kind of went through and re-supported the rollers because, again, they were installed improperly. And now that bedroom slide, if you watch our videos, has already been rebuilt once. And when McLean's rebuilt the rollers, they just put them back on what was already there. And that's probably how you're supposed to do it.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is it was wrong from the beginning. And so Chris and his team went through and did that. A couple little small things also. So we have an issue where our front cap likes to separate. They are having a hard time figuring out why that's happening.
They did test the Lippert frame to make sure that it was structurally sound. We watched them, and there's no problem with the main Lippert frame.
Right.
That we know.
Something we have to keep an eye on. You should always be aware of what's happening in your rig. Things can change on a dime on you.
Right.
There's normally little signs, so keep an eye on those things. But they did a stress test. It was well within specs, not even just barely inside of specs. I mean, well within specs. And so there was no concern there. But for some reason, that trim piece and those screws keep backing out. So
now it's been to McLean's 3 times for that issue, and the Grand Design guy once. And to be quite frank, they still don't know what's at the bottom of it.
The next stage is they're going to have to peel the entire underbelly of the front cap off and figure out what's really going on to fix it. So that's going to have to be scheduled because everybody ran out of time, unfortunately, because the length of what that causes.
But we know it's not structural, essentially, and we can go down the road safely.
Right. And so there's that. And then there was a possible delamination on the back wall. It was not a delamination.
It's not.
Thank God.
That's right. So just clarify that. We thought it was. There was something funny about it, the way it looked, the way it felt. It's not.
And everybody understood why we thought it could be because it looked very much like it. Well, what happened is at the factory, when they installed it, the wall essentially, they missed a couple of screws. They got too far inside, is my understanding. So it stayed under the roof line, but the top of the wall had shifted backwards just a little bit. And so it looked like there was a little delam. I actually crawled up there yesterday to fix the reverse camera, or the backup camera, and they did actually reposition that. So that was pretty much just a push it back in and put it back down and seal it up correctly. So,
but essentially, when they reinforced that flooring structure in the rear of the rig, that kind of corrected a lot of the small things that we had.
Yeah.
You know, we had some baggage doors that didn't quite latch right, just some little miscellany things like that.
So when they did that, like Lauren said, it kind of shored a lot of stuff up. They did actually adjust a few baggage doors too to give us a little bit more clearance and they did some little stuff around the rig too, because Grand Design is Grand Design, and they can't help themselves, I guess. Things that we didn't even really were aware about, they just went through and tweaked a little bit. So
they, like I say, they stood behind it. We cannot thank them enough, and Chris and Kyle in particular.
So the last day, so that's 2 days with Chris, and then McLean's had it for a day. So McLean's had a previous warranty thing where one of our fantastic fan, or our Max Air fan, sorry, that is in the kitchen, kept kind of like almost faulting out, so the motor would just kill off. So ended up being a faulty motor, and part of the frame had been cracked somehow. Again, not really sure. We didn't use it that much, so
I think it had to do with the flexing of that back as it goes down the road.
So either way, they had that in the works, and so in the interim between all of that, they had gotten that fan in, so they took a day. Chris rebuilt our substructure, and it took McLean's a day to put a fan in. Sorry, this is kind of a longer, rambling, talking head video, but we really wanted to go into detail what happened, and we can't stress enough that no one cares about you more than you.
Absolutely. It may sound harsh, but guys, it's true.
You can be pushy in a nice way.
Yes.
You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be ugly.
No.
But
and we were never, I don't feel like we were ever that way, and we made that a point to be professional, but still present.
Right. So, just again, like Lauren said, and many other channels have said, you have to be your own advocate.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. So make sure that you're looking over your rig as you go and paying attention to the little things. Because if a little thing changes that's supposed to be permanent, typically that means there's something going on. And it's way easier to catch it early than to wait late and have to be out of your rig for an extended period of time.
And if you have a Grand Design and you don't feel like you're getting somewhere with the dealership or you're getting some answers that may not line up, call Grand Design directly. I mean, that was one of the smartest things that we did, and I think it really benefited us in the long run, getting the quality of work and the timeline.
Well, and to be honest, we've had small issues in the past, and I've called Grand Design directly just because they're the ones that built it, so they have the most knowledge of it. And so we actually had an issue early on where I kept smelling propane. It turns out we had a brass fitting crack or break or somehow. We're not even 100% sure how, neither are they. And they actually video called with me with their LP engineer. And so we were able to diagnose it, and they literally overnighted us a new pigtail, and we tossed it on, and it's been perfect ever since. So don't hesitate to call and ask the question. I'm sure customer service is going, shush. But that's what they're there for. That's why they just opened that huge, beautiful new facility.
That's right.
They're there to use it. So
for us to call in.
So we were going to trade this thing in, get rid of it, sell it.
Man.
We looked at alliances, Chris and Martha. We did look. We looked at momentums. We looked at all kinds of stuff. And ultimately, what did we decide to do?
We're staying.
It's hard to let go of this floor plan.
It is. It works so well for us. And since Grand Design stood behind it so well, we have zero reason to consider otherwise at this time. Now, seasons change.
Sure.
We don't know what's coming down the road. But as for today, we'll be here.
So, what does that mean? Because I still have some concerns from an engineering perspective, even though everything's fixed and everything's hunky-dory. And by the way, it got down to around freezing last night for the first time. Furnace works great. What does that mean going forward? It means we're going to make some alterations to the rig. We're going to start taking steps to make the towability of it a little bit better to help kind of deaden some of the chalking or up and down motion, specifically in the rear of the coach. Also, pay close attention to your weight balance when you're loading your rig.
Yes.
Pay attention to that. We knew that, and so we've taken some steps prior to. In fact, on the way out today, we're going to weigh.
Yeah. And we weighed before anything broke. This was not what that boiled down to.
No, it was not. It was just an engineering issue, essentially. So that hopefully has been resolved. But we're going to take a few extra preventative steps to help make the experience more enjoyable, because we have some stuff coming up.
Yes, we do.
We've got a very busy winter.
We have some amazing things in store that we can't wait to share with you guys.
So, what are those upgrades? You'll just have to wait and find out.
All right, so on that note, we are going to leave you guys here until next week at 5, per the usual, and we hope to see you in Florida.
Tuesday. We do rig tours on Tuesday, too, so not just check that out as well.
Oh my gosh, we're never going to end this video.
Bye, Mom.
No, we're doing it again.
Bye, Mom. Why?
Because that's terrible.
Fine,
You're going to
go.
film that and be terrible. All right, so we are going to leave you guys here. And until next week at 5 with more updates. And as he said, we also do rig tour Tuesdays now, and we're very excited about that. He won't let us in this video. He's too cold to focus. On that note, bye guys. Bye, Mom.